Just like the Energizer Bunny, the powers of the president just keep on going and going and going. So here we go with more responsibilities, roles, and powers of the president. The president is a coalition builder. This coincides with him being a chief legislator. He's really trying to make a lot of his coalitions with Congress. So the definition of coalition builder would be to work with Congress to ensure the passage of his agenda. Very similar to party leader as well. He needs sympathetic legislators in order to accomplish his goal. He's going to consult with Congress. He is going to try to play nice with them, even members of the other party, especially if the other party, the opposition party, has leadership or majority in Congress. He's going to play nice with the leaders. Like, here you go, there's Obama and there's Boehner. Okay, with the State of the Union, uh, the White House, the White House communications between a White House and the Capitol. There's all sorts of ways that the president communicates what he wants and tries to accommodate what Congress members want. Political persuasion. This again is a lot like the bully pulpit. We talked about a popular president is able to bully Congress into doing what he wants them to do. Kind of the same thing. When you have a president that was elected with an overwhelming majority or a president that has a lot of popularity, he's going to mention his mandate a lot or his legitimacy. The mandate or the legitimacy is the right to govern the entire nation. He's going to remind Congress members, especially Congress members of the same party, that they have an agenda that they have to push. And if they push that agenda and fulfill promises, that means there is a higher public opinion, which means stronger coattails. Also, he can use his political persuasion to convince them to alter a bill that he doesn't like. Now, I know a lot of this sounds redundant, and it is. These are just kind of different roles the president plays, but the big role that he plays is trying to get his agenda passed. Now, when the president is a lame duck, so like Obama's a lame duck now. He's serving his second term. He cannot be reelected. He doesn't have to worry about himself that much. He also is not as powerful because he doesn't have any coattails with his party. So his power to negotiate is just diminished a lot. And of course, we've seen that again this year with Obama trying to stop or persuade Congress to avoid a government shutdown. But it's not just coalition building with Congress. You can also coalition build with when it comes to foreign policy. So building alliances with other countries, um, entering into trade agreements with other countries, or making executive agreements with other countries. All of these are things that the president can do to build a coalition of support. Domestic and economic are pretty much working with Congress, working with the House to get a budget passed, working to get health care passed. So all of domestic policy and economic policy really is focused on building a coalition of support in Congress. Okay, a power of the president that is also not in the Constitution is executive privilege. Definition: when subpoenaed or under investigation, the president or anybody in the executive branch really is allowed to not testify or can keep from stating everything that they may know about a particular topic. And they do this by claiming that this information, if leaked and available to the American public or even foreigners, it might hurt national security. Okay, so if the legislative branch like a select or a special committee has formed to investigate the actions of a president. The president doesn't want to testify or tell what he knows about something because he thinks once leaked to the media or once the media gets a hold of it, it's going to hurt our position and our safety and it's going to hurt the public good. Then the president can evoke executive privilege. He may also do this if subpoenaed by the judicial branch. So, he could be investigated by either branch, and against either branch, he may use executive privilege. Okay, U.S. versus Nixon. Supreme Court case that kind of defines when the president may use executive privilege. The Supreme Court confirmed the legitimacy of the executive privilege, but only to an extent. So you can't just use it for anything. If you're being, in Nixon's case, if you're being investigated for breaking into the Watergate Hotel or your ties to the Watergate break-ins, you can't say, "Oh, executive privilege. I can't tell you what I know about that." You're not allowed to do that. You can't obstruct justice with by evoking executive privilege. However, it can still be used in legitimate situations. So once invoked, a presumption of privilege is established, and it requires a prosecutor to make sufficient showing that the presidential material is essential to the justice of the case. So that's a fancy way of saying if you really don't need that information from the president, you can't make him talk. Also, if the president really can prove that it would hurt national security, you can't make him talk. President is the guardian of the economy. Shh. Guardian of the economy. In this role, the president is concerned with such things as unemployment, high prices, inflation, taxes, business profits, really the general prosperity of the country. The president does not control the economy, but he is expected to help it run smoothly. Let me reiterate that. The president isn't in control of the economy. Technically, Congress is. But since he is one single guy, they being the American public, media, and other political pundits, pin the responsibility of a prosperous economy on the president's shoulders. Now, he has an increased power, and it is informal because it's not in the Constitution, to protect a strong economy, to make sure there is low unemployment and low inflation. And he has been given more power over the economy, and he's been handed that power by Congress. He is now allowed, ever since the passing of the Budget and Accounting Act of 1921, put that up there, to propose a budget and potential revenue or taxes. The Budget of Accounting Act of 1921, Congress basically said, look, you're the guy who runs the government. You're the one who has more connection and communication with the cabinet departments and government agencies that fall under the executive branch. And since you are chief administrator or chief executive, it just makes sense that you're the one who looks at what those agencies need and come up with a budget for them. It also makes sense for you to come up with ways that we can tax individuals or put fees on individuals in order to make money for the government. So Congress gave him that power. Now he is assisted by the OMB. The OMB is the Office of Management and Budget. The OMB and its director fall under the Executive Office of the President. It is the OMB and director's job to help the president write the budget. He is the top accountant of the nation. The president also used to have the power of impoundment. Now, I say used to because it was taken away from him. But what the president used to do with impoundment power is when Congress appropriated or gave out money to certain agencies or departments or programs, the president would withhold that money or prevent that money from getting to where Congress had appropriated it. So, for example, if Congress had appropriated um, $20 billion to um, to pay for welfare assistance to mothers in inner cities, Reagan could look at that and say, you know what, I'm not going to give that money out to Department of Housing and Urban Development. I'm just going to impound it. I'm going to stop. I'm going to take that money away. Just like if the president were to come in and impound your car, take it away from you, he would impound money and take that money away from the program. Now, that was checked under the Budget Impoundment and Control Act of 1974, which was passed under the Nixon administration. I do believe, I need to double check this, and I'll definitely know it before Congress versus the president, and I think I say this every year, but I do believe that Nixon vetoed that bill, and of course it was overridden by Congress. But the Budget Impoundment and Control Act gave more power back to Congress over developing the budget and took away the president's power to impound funds. Okay. Shaping public opinion. We've kind of talked about this stuff a little bit before, so I'm going to kind of roll through it quickly. There you go, Bush with his I love this picture. It's one of my favorite pictures of all of presidencies. You just Bush with a bullhorn and his arm around a firefighter on the rubble of the World Trade Center with his member-only jacket, and he gets on the bullhorn and he says, "We're gonna get those terrorists dead or alive." I just love that picture. Anyway, great photo op there, Georgie. Okay, the honeymoon period. Remember, this is the first 100 days or so after inauguration where the presidential popularity and public opinion is the highest. Many presidents try to push their policy through at this time, just like FDR trying to push through a lot of the New Deal legislation at this time. Rally points or rally around the flag points is kind of known as both. This is the boost in public opinion percentage numbers that the president receives following a crisis. If, and here's the caveat, and remember this, he gets this boost in public opinion if he handles the crisis decisively and concisely. So Bush, the reason I put this picture up here, that is a depiction or example of when Bush got rally around the flag points or boost in public opinion following his handling of 9/11. Now, the opposite is true for the way he handled Katrina. Cycle of decreasing influence. This is about approval rating slumps. When the president loses his popularity, he also loses his ability to influence Congress. So this is especially true, like I said, in the lame duck period. So cycle of decreasing influence, as his approval decreases, so does his ability to use the bully pulpit, his ability to be a coalition builder, all of that diminishes. His coattails also diminish second time around, his second election, but in that second midterm election where he's president, like the one that's coming up in 2014, that is definitely going to probably take a toll on his party. A mandate, again, like I said before, if the president has overwhelming electoral support, he can justify his position, and he talks a lot about, I have a mandate from the people love me, I have more legitimacy as a president. Bush did not have a mandate his first term. He didn't have a mandate in 2001 because he didn't win popular support from the people. But by 2004, when he ran against John Kerry, and it was a nice victory I saw Bush talked about was his mandate. My mandate. The people love me. Look at how legitimate I am. And if I was Bush, I'd be talking about that too because I didn't have one the first go around.